Okay. Hello, my name is Marcy Davis, and I am doing my presentation for my research paper for my behavior analysis and therapy 493 class. And the title of my research paper is Examining the Effects of Group Contingencies on Reading Performance During Remote Learning. So why I chose this study. I chose this study because during COVID-19, educational performance was greatly impacted. I know in many regions, including ours, not just reading, but just general educational rates across the board on performance was down. A lot of our school is under their grade level. And so in this time, it just even made it worse. So that was one of the things I was looking at. Because of COVID, it impacted class attendance because at our school, we started off with everybody being remote, the students being remote. And then like in October, I believe, is when students came back. And so it didn't mean all students came back, though. We actually had a hybrid mix. So parents that wanted to keep their children remote were able to do so. So we had students online and students in class. But previous to this and during this time when we had students come in, we still had problems with attendance, which was something we had problems with before. But now students were, given the responsibility to, in a lot of cases, be, proactive in getting themselves up, making sure they're getting online at the right times and attending all classes. So putting in an environment where now you're at home and maybe nobody's there with you during class time, or parents have other things to do, whatever the case may be, you have to get yourself online if you weren't having someone to do that for you. So in a lot of cases, kids decided not to be there. And not saying that it was because they were lazy. We probably did have some kids that were doing it because they were like, oh, well, I don't have to be in class. Nobody's gonna, call me on it. I'm not gonna be here. But in this time also, there was a great responsibility put upon students to be really independent and in a way with tools and situations that they were not familiar with. Teachers weren't even familiar with all the way, but students were given this responsibility. Of course, this led to homework completion being a problem. Now you don't have that in class help that you were getting before. And even when classes were coming back, the kids that were remote, you don't have that same interaction with the teachers and being able to get that help that you would normally get. So, of course, homework completion took a dive. And then grades suffered because of this. So now we have a lot of children, grades are already below level. They're not even in the level they need to be in, but they're being asked to read everything online because everything is posted online now. So you have to have a reading level to be able to keep up with just reading the assignments and, not alone trying to do the assignment on your own if you didn't get the efficient help that you needed. And of course, then this led to which, was the better, remote versus in-person attendance, and again, like I was saying, attendance was affected on all sides. So remote just made it worse. So you may ask, what is group contingencies? So since that is a part of my research, I have a video to show.
My name is Nia Goldberg, and I'm a board-certified behavior analyst with Preston Moving Associates. In this video, I'll be talking to you about group contingencies. I'd first like to mention positive behavior interventions and supports, or PBIS. Positive behavior interventions and supports are interventions used to address problem behavior by preventing behavior and teaching appropriate replacement skills. Their interventions are tiered into hierarchies to address primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention, which is also referred to as Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Primary prevention is generally targeted school-wide or classroom-wide and addresses the majority of the total student body. Secondary prevention targets groups of students who may be considered at risk. A tertiary prevention targets individuals usually with an individualized behavior plan. Group contingencies can be utilized as part of the PBIS model to prevent problem behaviors and teach appropriate replacement skills. A group contingency is when reinforcement for all members of the group is dependent on the behavior of a person within the group, a select group of members within a larger group, or each member of the group, meeting a performance criteria. Group contingencies are an effective way to promote cooperation and improve behavior. There are three types of group contingencies: dependent, independent, and interdependent. Dependent group contingencies are also known as the hero procedure. In this type of contingency, reinforcement for all members of the group is dependent on the behavior of one member of the group, or the behavior of a select group of members within a larger group. In an independent group contingency, reinforcement for each member of the group is dependent on the person meeting a performance criteria that is in effect for all members of the group. The advantage of this type of contingency plan is that it holds each individual responsible for meeting the specified criteria. It motivates each student to keep up with the rest of the group in order to earn the reward. In an interdependent group contingency, reinforcement for all members of the group is dependent on each member of the group meeting a performance criteria that is in effect for all members of the group. Like the dependent group contingency, the interdependent program capitalizes on peer influence, as group members are likely to encourage each other to earn their reward. The good behavior game is an example of an interdependent group contingency. This involves dividing a group into teams and offering a reward contingent upon behavior exhibited by everyone on the team. Instead of earning rewards for good behavior, each team earns strikes against it for any problematic behaviors exhibited by any one of its team members. The team with the fewest strikes earns a reward. So the guidelines to implement group contingencies are to conduct a reinforcer assessment. Some common rewards at school include special privileges, recognition, and tangible items. Some common rewards in the workplace include cash rewards, paid time off, paid lunch, and extended lunch hour. The second is select behaviors targeted for either increase and or decrease. Then develop a criteria for when rewards will be delivered and goals will be met. Next, combine with other interventions if it's appropriate. Select the appropriate group contingency that would be dependent, independent, or interdependent. Then collect data and make changes accordingly. Some advantages of group contingencies is that they save time, they lighten the workload for teachers and staff, they facilitate teamwork within a group, they're practical to use, they encourage peer influences and encouragement, support, and motivation. Some disadvantages to group contingencies is that there may be sabotage to prevent a group from receiving a reward. Bullying may occur to members of the group who are responsible for the group not earning the reward. There may be peer pressure to behave inappropriately, like participating in bullying, scapegoating of an individual. There may be some coercion, and it may not be effective for individuals who require that Tier 2 and Tier 3 level of intervention. To mitigate the disadvantages, such as bullying, one may consider the use of an individual reinforcement contingency instead, to avoid potentially forcing students to engage in bullying behaviors. Another recommendation may be to use self-monitoring along with group contingencies. Although group contingencies are commonly used in classroom settings, they can be utilized in other environments as well. For example, in the Brown Edmond article, group contingencies were implemented to reduce staff use of unscheduled sick leave. In the article, the researchers implemented a group contingency with direct care workers that required the employees to meet a specified criteria to be eligible for drawing for prizes such as $20 in cash, 4 hours of paid time off, paid lunch with a supervisor, or movie tickets at a local theater. The mean number of unscheduled sick hours was reduced during this intervention. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to disseminate science, share this video, and please follow us on YouTube. Bye.
Okay. Okay, so okay, so what does the research say about group contingencies? So it says that group contingencies can be used for different things. They can promote the engagement of students between each other, so help them learn how to engage with each other. They can also be a social learning tool. Spalding 1992 research found that when students were given a choice, that it increased their probability of reading, doing reading for reading comprehension. So in the study, it was showing group contingencies, but it was showing that along with choice, that they would also do better on their performance for reading with comprehension. So they would choose a book that they liked over the one that they were offered or given, and take tests according to what they were reading. And then research done with Billington 2004 saw that the principles of least effect may have a play in the role of students falling behind in certain subjects like reading. So basically, they would choose something that had the least effort, which could also go into the choosing of the book. Yes, they have chosen the book, but now it's a book that's under their level. It's not going to, gain them any extra vocabulary, anything like that. And so that could have a play in it. Another research project was Carvo and Kodak in 2016. And what they found that when you were using the dependent contingency model, that this increased students' engagement in the material. And then when the intervention was withdrawn, that the effect was maintained. So all in all, group contingency does work. But sorry. But with my research, wait, I went back too far, sorry. But as far as my research, what I was looking at is what is what is happening in remote conditions now, as far as how is that impacting the performance of students. And in what I am finding, like, I wanted to look at how it's going to impact it. Is it going to hold up the same? Our contingency group contingency is going to hold up the same as in previous research, or was remote learning? Sorry, or was remote learning going to just totally change what was going on before? Was it too much? Would the intervention still work? So in my research, we were going to look at all three contingencies. We're going to use middle school girls and boys in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And we will be looking at performance on reading. So after that, there's different ways that you could use the contingencies in the classroom. So one of the ways, which I'm not going to show it, but for a time I won't, but it's a 3-jar game, sort of like, and what happens is there's 3 jars. One jar has the name of all the students. One jar has a name of different types of rewards that the students would prefer. And then the other jar has the list of different appropriate activities or appropriate behaviors that the children can participate in. So the students know what a behavior is being looked at in the classroom, because one behavior is drawn from the jar, and then nobody knows who's being looked at, but the teacher draws whatever the student, one student or two students, whichever contingency they're using. And then if that student or students meet the criterion, then an activity is drawn from the reward jar, so that the students can have a reward for meeting the criteria. So then another really neat thing that I saw was how in one of the classes they were using something called a good behavior game. And so this video is I'm just going to show part of it, but it shows how it actually works in the classroom and how the group contingency can be used as well.
What's a fraction say? One of the greatest challenges face is managing student behavior during instructional time and transitional time. The PACS Good Behavior Game addresses this concern by providing teachers with an easy-to-use, research-based strategy that reduces the cost. Thank you very much for those fingers in the air, ladies and gentlemen. So that signals our next good behavior game. I'm looking for some super quiet hands in the air. First grade teacher Matt Burtness has been using the good behavior game for 6 months, and he plays it with his students 3 times a day. What would a spleen look like if we're working our math books?
Talking to your neighbors.
Talking to your neighbors would definitely be a spleen.
Saying shh to your friend.
Saying shh to your friend. We're just going to do a quick day before PCP, ladies and gentlemen. So, 8 minutes on the clock.
To start playing the game, you have to first create the PACS vision for your classroom. And the PACS vision is how you want your classroom to look, to feel, and to sound.
The students help decide what they want. Or potential spleens. But teachers notice that a student is being disruptive or off task. What do all these subtraction equations have in common? Ms. Adrian.
So that was just a small section showing how that can work. And so I thought that was really interesting. But all in all, my research is trying to use previous research to see if the same type of intervention will work in a remote learning environment. I think a limitation that could be in my research is that in doing the research, the interaction could have problems because of teachers having problems of how to actually see each one of the children, because some may be remote and then they have students that are also in the class. So being able to keep track of that, I think that could have a play on results as well, because that would be an interference into the results. But one thing that I think my research could also do is it could spurn off other research showing different ways and techniques that may be good when using group contingencies, of how to set up a room in a proper way or effective way that will help teachers be able to keep track of this, and that the students all feel like they're all getting help the same way as if you were in class or not in class. And so I would ask questions, but there is no one here. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.